Let's go. Come take a ride through my city life. See what my city's like. It's the city life. For some, it's a shitty life. This is city living. Mostly them city children. From my bedroom, see the lights of them city buildings. Ain't gotta act hard. Private's my backyard. I run road out. You can call me a track star. And we a team, homie. All is one. I don't sleep until all is done. I ain't ruckus, so please don't call me Mr. 401. It's Mr. Rags. You can call me. I'm still in that 401. From where we was, look at all we become. For what it's worth, I put my all in the sun. Know that my city love it. My city's budget about my city's public. Know how my city does it. Let me handle my city business. Then I ride you outside of them city limits.
Okay, what's up, everybody? How we doing? What happened here? Give me a minute. All right, there we go. There we go. What's up, everybody? How are we doing? A lot of people back from the UMass Springfield game yesterday. I think URI might have had a game also, man. But great season UMass Darthmouth had. I mean, I think it was great, finishing 10-0 for the regular season, 10-1 overall. I mean, they put up 432 yards yesterday. Tough game falling to Springfield, 54-27. But we're gonna bring on UMass Darthmouth running back coach, recruiting coordinator. I think one of the hottest guys, one of the hardest working guys. You know, especially in that conference overall. I mean, we see this guy at multiple games on a Friday night. He'll be popping up at Hendricken, could be popping up at Pilgrim, maybe a Central game. But it's like, how do you get all over the place so fast? But Ryan McCormack, man, what's up, coach?
Good morning. Well, actually, afternoon now, Mike.
Yes, it is, man. We're just gonna have a casual conversation, you know. Busy season you had. Your season never stops. You know, now you're probably already on to 2025.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really stop. We kind of transition to different phases, more or less. You know, in season, we're always recruiting in season and evaluating. I think you're trying to juggle multiple tasks. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of more of a, you know, in season, you're trying to juggle game planning, you know, evaluation of your own players, in-house evaluation of the opponents coming up, you know, evaluation of techniques on film, grading out our own players. So, you know, it allows us to do a off-season self-scout. I know our head guy will be, I think he's taking a mental health day to kind of reset because he never stops. So, nor do any of us. So it's kind of, you know, it gives me more time to deep dive the film from yesterday and look at things that we did well, things we need to work on in the running back room, and then just collaboratively talk about where we need to fit needs. You know, we're graduating 22 seniors, and all 22 of those guys are really good. But the cupboard's not bare. I mean, you know, people think like, oh, what are you guys going to do next year? It's like, come to our practice. We got dudes coming back. I mean, you know, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for young guys for sure. You know, I mean, our quarterback is a different animal. I don't think his football days are done. Let's put it that way. And you'll see how that plays out. I mean, we had a running back from last season who was a senior last year get signed in the Arena League this past week. So Luis Gonzalez, and you know, we have a standard, and so the standard is always ever evolving forward. And I think the current senior class that's graduating, the 22 guys are leaving us. They definitely have set the standard higher than it was, and really kind of paved the way for the future. And you know, I mean, they're great guys and uber talented players. So, you know, I mean, losing them is hard for sure. It's definitely a lot of firepower. Let's put it that way. But when you set a standard, there's a certain level of accountability, and we're going to continue as coaches raise the bar on both what we want to bring in here and then what we're doing as a staff and evaluating, and then even looking in the mirror and say, what can we do better to be better? So, I mean, you give you a statistic in the running back room. In 2022, we went to the tournament, lost in the first round to the high-powered Ithaca team that went on to only lose to the national champion. And we had 5 really bad fumbles in that game. 4 came out of the running back room. We had 11 fumbles in that whole entire season. And we instituted a lot of we call it balls of program, ball security stuff, and ramped it up. We always did ball security stuff, but we really ramped it up. The next year we went down to 8 fumbles in the team and far less in the running back room. And this year we only had 1 fumble in the running back room, period, that we lost in 11 games. And that happened on a special team. It didn't even happen in an offensive set. So we've seen progress in that category, that statistical category, and we only had 4 fumbles in the whole season of any player. Take away losses, that's a big transition from just 2 years ago. But we feel that we need to continue to push the needle forward. So,
and you absolutely you did that. You had Dante, Joshua Surt came back this year for another season. Angel Sanchez. I mean, you had some great talent. As you move on, you always make way, it seems, since like 2017 to build for the future. All 4 classes, not just you don't deal with just one class and let's make this class good and win a championship. You're building for the future.
You're always building. So, yeah, I mean, you understand this class was an elite class. But the teams that were good, I feel, in NCAA football this year the good teams, the national ranked teams, had similar type of rosters at the top end that were almost like a class and a half, so to speak, of talent. So we're going to, lose a big class, but so are other programs. I mean, I've done the analytics on teams in our league and the teams in New England and D3. And so, we lose 22 seniors, and all of them are very talented, extremely talented. Well, again, like I said, the cupboard's not completely bare. I mean, do we have to replace a lot of the cupboard? Of course. But we've already have kids projected out we want in this class, some that I think we're close to signing. So, but we still have a lot of work to do. Our goal is to go to this tournament every year and at some point win this whole thing. Our goal is to win the MASC every year. We will, we get negative haterade, or you want to call it, from people outside the world that will troll us on social media, whatnot. And, the people that do that, all they're doing is fueling the fire to produce. So to me, it's like, oh, thank you for the bulletin board material, because all you're doing is driving me forward harder and faster to win and to compete and to never stop working. So, and that's just like how everybody is in our football office. I mean, we're all kind of uber competitive, uber driven. All the coaches here, they want to win. People always ask me, you're not going to take a day off. You're not going to, it's like, this is who I am. This is what I do. So, I tell people all the time, like when you're out at the movies, or you're going to some party or going to a bar or going out to eat, I'm not doing that, and most of the guys in our office aren't doing that. They're locked in, they're grinding. And, people think it's insane that we do all these camps. And it's like, listen, if you don't see the kids, you don't see the kids in person to properly evaluate them, you're going off film and just data, and that's part of it. But you got to see the kids. You got to get out there. So, what other people may not agree with what we do, but that's fine. They're not here. So, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing, and this is what I've always done, and it's not going to stop. So it's going to just ramp further up. So, and that's just how we're going to operate.
I'm trying to find this banner. Oh, yeah. I intercepted a message that I think you had sent to your players, and it talks about how yesterday was a tough way to end the season, and there's more highs than lows. And let me pull up the exact thing. You actually said that You are undefeated in MASCAC Conference Champions. Number 2, you ended the regular season 10-0, undefeated in MASCAC 9-0, 5-0 in home games, and 10-1 overall. You are one of 19 teams in all of NCAA football that were undefeated in the regular season. Ended the season as the number 4 scoring offense of NCAA football. 5, you ended the season as the number 6 total offense. You ended the season as a 12th in rushing offense. Ended the season as 3rd in first down offense. Ended the season in 12th third down percentage offense. Ended the season 6th in pass protection, sacks allowed. And 10, yes, there are 10 of them, lost only 4 in 11 games and no running back fumbles in an offensive set. 1 running back fumble loss on special teams, and that's not easy to do. That's setting the bar pretty high.
Yeah, but I think there's a world we can raise it up. I think there's a world we can further put it under a microscope and raise it up. So, to the outside world, that might be impressive, and it is impressive. But to us, I feel that there's another tier. Anytime you enter this national title tournament, 99.9% of those teams are very, very, very good. Every team has multiple XD1 transfers, multiple XD2 transfers. I mean, there was a kid in that roster that we played yesterday. There was a D2 transfer from a scholarship program that didn't start for them. So, that will tell you how good that team is. I mean, they're a good team. They're one of the only other 19, and that's not just D3 or the 19. It's Division I, Division II, Division III, all of college football. That's NAIA, which is an NCAA. That's JUCO. That's 19 schools in the country that are undefeated. And I don't care who you play. You can say it's easy to go undefeated. No, it's not. So, and the better you become as a program, everybody circles you on their calendar as to take a shot at you, so to speak. People are going to bring their A game and try to beat you. So to be undefeated is not easy. And this next round, they're going to go face the reigning national champions in Cortland, at Cortland. And SUNY Cortland put 2 guys in the NFL last year, so from last year's team. So I mean, again, you're not facing an average opponent. You're facing a big dog, or biggest of big dogs. So, in a game like that, at one point it was 21-14. I mean, we led to start the game. The first drive, we went down and scored fairly quickly. They answered, run the football, which that team we faced yesterday was the number 1 rushing team in all of college football, not just Division III and all the NCAA. And, until you play them, you think you have the answers, and it took a little while to kind of figure it out what some of the things they were doing defensively. But we did. But again, we had 2 opportunities in the high red zone to score, which we kind of turned the ball over on downs, which we wish we had those opportunities back. But you're not facing an average opponent. You're facing a team that if you make a mistake, they're going to make you pay dearly. And we made them pay at times. I mean, we had another opportunity in the second half to win the game. We'd come within 1 score, and we had a couple mistakes, and we made a call we thought we would gain advantage of, but we kind of, I don't want to say gamble, but we made a calculated decision that we thought was going to be there, and they matched their coverage, and they did a good job hiding their coverage, and we got caught in it. So that happens. I mean, we're never going to apologize for trying to make a shot to take the lead again. And then some injuries. One of our kickers got hurt, which hurt us a little bit, obviously. And they realized that. They have a lot of good coaches in their staff as well, and they took advantage of that to further try to, make the score a little bit more despair. We had an opportunity to score twice near the back end of the game, and we just came up short. I mean, if we don't have that pick 6 back, and it got, it was a play that we wish we had back. Again, they're a good team. I mean, you take those 7 points off the board, that puts them in the 40s. We scored twice in the high red zone. When we didn't score that night, it got a tie ball game. Again, they're a good team. There's a reason they're undefeated too. And it's frustrating to lose with such a good team. I mean, we have a really talented team. I think everybody that faced us in the regular season was shocked both how talented our team was, how well coached they were, and how big they were in athletics. So, everybody, in pregame, kids are hyped up, and there's some trash talking going on, obviously, from the opponent. And the game gets rolling, and they realize very quickly that they may not want to make those decisions and say those things. But, again, it's a long season, and now it's reset and ramp it up in recruiting, ramp it up in evaluation, and self-scout and deep dive and get after it for the next season. So that's kind of where we're at.
And you're always on the board trying to look for, fresh talent. I noticed since 2018, I would say when I took notice that you went after a lot of Rhode Island players, and Salve seemed to do that a few years back, recruited heavily out of Rhode Island.
Yeah, in the 90s and early 2000s, Salve, when I was there on staff, and before that when I played there, Timmy Cohen and Arthur Bell, they were big proponents of recruiting Rhode Island. They got a lot of Rhode Island kids, and they had a process, and so I took that process and kind of morphed it in my own way. Networked with a lot of guys at higher levels of how that were successful, how they did things, what made them successful, what didn't, and why. It took some years to kind of build the process and build the roster. It doesn't happen overnight. Everyone thinks it does. That's not true. And you're missing some kids, and you figure out why were the kids a miss, or why were they, or why the kids you brought in weren't what you thought they were. And so there was like some self-evaluation of how you evaluate kids. So, and kids are changing, things are different. So I think that the process we have in place now works. People outside of here may not agree with it, but because they don't know what we're doing, they think they know. But we have a very serious process, and we value the high school coaches that give us the respect and love and try to get kids to us we want and they want here, and that works. And then some coaches don't see our value. I don't in high school. I don't know why, but we're like, our head coach did an interview yesterday after the game with the media. He talked about the value of the education and what we try to do here with our players off the field with academics and internships and jobs, and then what we're trying to build here. So we don't sell to kids NFL. Like, it's not like a thing. Like, some schools will do that, and they're selling something. They're trying to sell a lottery ticket that's not exactly real. So we're trying to sell the reality, and obviously that's an opportunity that can happen, but it's not a guarantee. Division I programs can't sell NFL. They can say we can try to get you there, of course, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of variables that play into that. Health, injury, how you do at the combine, all those things, play into that occurring. And sometimes the player themselves don't have control of that. So, we're trying to sell the reality of come here, get a national ranked education at a very reasonable price, develop as a human being, and then if you do the right things, it will lead to success on the field, and success in life. So that's what we're trying to do here. I mean, that's why our rep managers win the rep. So, and if you actually think about what that means, it's transcendent to life. If you win every rep at what you're doing, you're going to be successful. If you don't, there's limitations of how far you can push success. So, again, we'll have some conversations with our players individually and exit interviews at the end of the year. Head guy will set those up, and then individually try to figure out what they need to do, each individual player, to be a better version of themselves, and then also help the team more, and then figure out even deeper dive where our holes are that we need to fix. I mean, obviously our quarterback graduating is a big deal. I mean, he's been the most dominant player in our conference for 4 years. So, I mean, he's a different guy. I mean, there's not a lot of Dante Villas Santos as walking the earth. So, when we recruited him at a high school, they're like, why everybody said, why are you recruiting that kid in the outside world? and we knew what we were looking at. And when he got here, he developed very rapidly and continued to develop. And every year he just got better and better and better. I mean, he threw for over 10,000 yards. He has over 100 touchdowns. Like, that's insane. So that's a lot of touchdown passes. So, I mean, he definitely put up some monster numbers. But we feel we have guys in that room and guys we also have on our recruiting board that could potentially be like him. So, again, it's all potential. It's what they do in the work to become that. You can just flick a switch and it just happens. It's part of it, they have to have the ability, part of it, they have to have the mental state, part of it, they have to have the work ethic, and part of it, they have to be willing to be molded into something special. So, and they have to stay healthy. So, and that comes with like what they do with their day to day, and then a little bit of luck. So, I think, as much as it's going to hurt losing Dante, which it does, he's elite. He's different. It's when the Patriots lost Tom Brady, they've yet to figure out how to replace him. So that's been years. But I feel that we have a process that works. I mean, the last 3 starting quarterbacks here have been the best player at quarterback in the league, the McCormack. So Dante Villalobos, and before him was Stephen Gachuk. Before him, it was Corey Burnham. So all 3 of them have been elite.
And Dante, and I remember a lot of people seem to think, true freshman, but he had a year of with Gachuk that they were able to work together, and kind of get that education that you really need, before you take a game. And I don't think anyone thought Dante was going to be the 2024 the Golden Helmet Award. What do you get it in week 7? Division3football.com team of the week. McCormack Offensive Performer of the Week, D3Football.com All Region 3rd Team, McCormack Offensive Player of the Year, 2023 First Team Offensive All McCormack. I mean, it goes on. Writer Helmet Award, Offensive Performer of the Week, Writer Season Golden Helmet Award, Joe Zabowski Annual Winner, the D3 All Region First Team, 2022 Offensive Player of the Year, First Team Offensive All McCormack, 2021 McCormack Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Second Team Offensive All McCormack. Like, that is kind of like you mentioned the Tom Brady resume for college football. I mean, that's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta understand, like, their opponent yesterday's running back was also the Golden Helmet winner during the season. So it's not like he was facing like some average bum team. He was facing another big dog offensively that was different, but people have to understand how hard it is to play against a team like that and to win. So, they just say, "Oh, what happened?" It's like, well, we're playing another big dog.
Nelson Martinez is absolutely on point, Coach. And if you have questions, you want to send them in, I'll put them up on the screen, as long as they're topic related. When it comes to Dante, I knew what you were looking at. Coach Gillard, like, this guy, I respect him. He knows a lot about the game himself. Salute to him. But, yeah, you knew what you were looking at when it came to Dante, because you didn't really have a lot of film on Dante, right, coming into it?
Yeah, I mean, we did our due diligence, or I did my due diligence. Coach Leonard coached him at Cumberland years ago. Coach Leonard used to work with me at Salve, and we played together at Salve. So Coach John Leonard knew exactly what we were looking at. He was one of the resources we used to do our due diligence on Dante Villalobos. So it made, Jala is right on. Like, we had lots of conversations about what I felt and what he felt he could become if he put in the work, and he went crazy in the work ethic. I mean, he came in here and right away was driven for success, and he learned from Stephen Gachuk, who was our star at the time during the COVID year. We basically didn't have any games, kind of how to operate at the collegiate level, because he already had success at the high school level. And, he was a tireless worker. Unfortunately, Stephen got hurt his first game of his last year of eligibility, But fortunately for Dante, it kind of just played out in a very unique way where he gets thrust in the starting lineup like a Tom Brady, so to speak, and won us the game at the end against Husson, a very good opponent up at Husson, in a very hot 95-degree, crazy humidity day up at Huston, and they were very good. They had an All-American linebacker. They had an All-American tight end. They had an All-World D end. So they had a really talented team, and we beat them. They were very senior loaded. We were nowhere near senior loaded. And our head coach at the time, Coach Roshad, Steven goes down, and we're like, oh boy, because Steven was so good for us. And then, Dante goes in the game and did very well, and then had a lot of success at the end of the game to win us the game. And that was the first, glimpse of how good Dante could be. And he just kept getting better and better and better. He had some bumps in the road, like any young quarterback, but, he continued to grind and continue to work and continue to become a better and better leader. And I think his work ethic was very much infectious to the rest of his class. They could see the success he was having by what he was doing, and in their own position grouping, they did the same thing. And it led to a raise of the culture from being a good program, a solid program, to being elite. And that's kind of what our culture is now. I mean, a lot of the coaches in this world, the day after a loss like this, at the end of their season, sometimes will just go in like checkout mode for a day, maybe or two. Our staff is doing what I'm doing today. When I get done on this podcast, I'm going right back to tagging film and taking notes in film, and then transition to more recruiting stuff today and more evaluation, and just get this ball really rolling. So, it just never ends. But yeah, I mean, the COVID year was big for Dante because it almost allowed him to have an inadvertent like redshirt year, so to speak, without being a redshirt year. And he learned a lot, and I think it really helped his development. Anytime you get to develop with time is your friend if you use it right. So, and he uses every inch of his time greatly. And I think that he'll be hard to replace, but, people always say, oh, this can't happen, that can happen. I think we can find another hidden gem like him. And I think we may have another hidden gem on our roster right now. So, we're not going to let everybody see all our cards, but we have some hidden gems in the recruiting process, we feel. If we yield them that in different personal rooms, that could be very special if they come here. So, again, we're always about development and work ethic and doing the right stuff. So, it's funny because, we always believe we can compete and win, but we respect our opponents. We don't always, have that to we're just going to beat everybody. It's not our mentality. We have very much work hard, respect your opponent, and believe that anyone can beat you. But if you prepare properly, you can beat anyone. So that's kind of how we operate.
Another senior that's been very good for you guys is another Providence kid, Angel Sanchez, 2023 DTFootball.com All-Region second team, 2023 first team offensive All-Mascot Special Teams Performer of the Week, 2022 NEFWA D2 and D3 All New England Team, D3 All Region First Team, 2022 First Team Offense All Mascot.
Yeah, Angel is a difference maker. I mean, he's a competitive human being. He's a very football savvy kid. He's the type of kid, he's going to dive for every ball. He's going to jump over people. He's going to play with a reckless abandon of production and effort. He's a football player. I mean, some kids won't die for a ball. Some kids won't just sell out to make a play. He's that type of kid. He's going to do everything he can to make a play for his team. So I think that's his biggest attribute. He's uber competitive. Obviously, he's a very elite talent. He's a very elite athlete, but he's a gritty player, and he's a tough player. He scored the first touchdown catch yesterday. I think that stunned our opponent a little bit. I think they thought they were going to just stop us cold. They didn't. We will miss Angel. Angel's an elite player. But that wide receiver room has other elite players that are similar in essence to him. They may not be, some people might say or not say they're as good, to be debated. But I think that there's other players in that room that could become like him, and they have more time. We have a junior wide receiver who's be a senior next year that from Western Mass that played at JUCO and played at a higher level for that. That wore number 4, Jael Guerrero. That's very good. We have Nas from Connecticut. He's a 6'6" wide receiver. He can jump out of the gym. We have other players coming back. Hunter Remington from Rhode Island, from Johnston's very good. Easton Coleman from Louisiana. He was out last year. He's back. Was back this year. He's very good. I mean, again, there's a standard. If I went through every player in every room, you're going to realize very quickly that there's a certain standard of quality that we carry here. And I call people that aren't that standard the anti-rings. If you want rings, there's a certain standard you have to carry in your roster, period, up and down the entire roster, or you're not going to win all 10 games. It's just not possible.
Coach Matt Kessler said, hottest working recruiter around. Ryan is a major reason for UMass Darthmouth's success. And your former coach said something similar, too, on a video that was taken with him and Dante. But salute to you. Salute to Coach Kessler up there at Middletown. You're always keeping an eye on not only Rhode Island teams, Mass teams, all over the place, man. How do you do it, man? Who puts the battery in your back?
I don't know. I was taught as a player when I played at Salve to have a certain level of production and effort and care, and I think it transitions into coaching. I don't know. Some people drink, some people do drugs. I do football.
I hear you. There you go. Have you caught up on any of the Rhode Island Super Bowls and stuff that were going on?
Yeah, I was at the I couldn't attend. We were practicing the night of the Rhode Island Division I state title game, which was Henrican versus LaSalle, which is a very good game. I've seen the video of it, watched the film, looked at the players. I couldn't attend that game because we were practicing that night. But I did attend all the games. It was during our 2 week. We had the first round of the NCAA tournament. We had a bye. We had a first round bye, so we were kind of in a holding pattern. So we were getting ready for our opponent, which was Springfield College, in round 2. So that Friday night we had practice under the lights. So I couldn't attend that because I can't be in 2 places at once. So I got to go to the D1 Super Bowl, which was NK Burville, which is a very good game. And then I got to see all the rest of the division games, Division 2, Division 3, Division 4. Again, there's players from all levels, individual players that we like. And a bunch of kids we've had up to games. A bunch of kids we invited up, we just couldn't get up because they had their own game conflict or practice conflict, which happens. I do like the Thursday. I do like early in the year for Rhode Island high school football, the Thursday night games. I think having 1 or 2 Thursday night games tiered out each week isn't bad. I think that was kind of cool. I did like a couple times early in the year they had a couple Saturday night games, which is interesting, and a couple Saturday day games. So we were always trying to get to games, me specifically, but I'm more vocal on social media, letting people know I'm there at times. Our other coaches aren't, but they're there. They're at the games. They just don't. I guess they don't let people know they're there. But we're all getting to games on Friday nights or Thursday nights or Saturday morning for our own games. I mean, I remember one game we played home. I think it was a Blue and Gold weekend. We had a 5:00 kickoff. We were all at games that morning, all over Southern New England, and running back from the games to campus. So, kids on a roster like, "Hey, coach, where the heck are you guys?" It's 10 a.m. We're like, "Oh." We're like, "We're here. We're there." It was funny because we were laughing we have a communications thing we call a group me app with our team, and the kids are laughing because they're like, "You guys are crazy." I'm like, "Well, we got to see the kids. Hopefully some of them become your teammates next year." So, we got to get out there.
Back in September, there was rumors of Coach Marcone stepping down. You hear that every year about different coaches. We found out, just recently he did step down. you know Coach Marcone and you had interactions with him. What are you going to say to him?
I think, some people they feel it's time. They, I think COVID allowed a lot of people to, COVID for me became like recruitment. Like I became a recruiting fanatic. I remember we were like on the road going to like games in Connecticut at like this independent league at random hidden fields to go look at kids. And so COVID, for us in my household, we built a $30,000 office in my basement, renovated my basement because if not, we were all stuck in the dining room together, which was brutal. So, for some people, I think that it gave them the opportunity because football was taken away from them to see what it was like if they did something else during football season. And so, Coach Marcone was the offense coordinator when Coach Cohen was the head coach there when he was coaching his son. He had a lot of success. I mean, as the OC, they won, I think it was like 3 straight state titles in a row. When Liam was the QB and Coach Cohen was the head coach. And then Coach Cohen left there and coached a couple years at Portsmouth High School and then retired out of football because his son was playing at UMass Amherst. And now his son's the offense coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think, this is football it wears you down. I mean, sometimes to some people. And I think that, everything's easy to win and it's not. So I think, he never said that he wanted to retire or anything to me personally, but he was the head guy there for I think 20 years, 21 years, and he was on staff there for over that. So he's been there for 20 something years. I think he just felt it was time to go in a different direction. I have a good relationship with Coach Marcone. He's always reaching out about his players. We have LaSalle players on the roster. They're very good. I think he just decided it was his time. I don't know who will officially be the next guy there. I'm intrigued to see what will happen. I have a couple ideas who it might be, but we'll see. I think they're going to hire somebody with the next 8 to 10 weeks, I would guess, because they gotta get rolling because that division of Rhode Island is very competitive, and they lost in a very tight game against Hendricken, and if they want to be a top 2 team in that division, they have to hire that guy soon to get ready for winter lifting and make sure the kids' grades are right and all that stuff. Because football is not a 3-4 month thing. Football at high levels of high school and college is year round. So, I haven't talked to Coach Marcone directly about his retirement. I'm actually going to probably reach out to him the next couple of days because I'm going to sit down with some of his players in house. But I get it. I mean, sometimes it's just time,
Absolutely, man. Some people say that it's to be an alumni, or they're thinking it's going to be an alumni. Some people say Reamer, some people say Lorenzo. It could be Lorenzo Perry, the defensive coordinator. It could be. So we will see. But I think you are right. They have to get started sooner than later. Man, up there at the north part of the state, Burrillville Broncos, man, Coach Ferraro, 9 Super Bowls, won 6, brought his first time in a Division I Super Bowl. I say he's the best coach in Rhode Island high school football actively. West Pennington gets his trophy back to Coventry, and some say it might. Back to West Warwick from Coventry, and some say Coventry might not see that trophy for a while now. What about them 2 coaches?
About, you mean Coach Ferraro?
Coach Ferraro and Coach Pennington.
Well, Coach Ferraro's a Wesley grad like me, so I've known Gennaro a long time. I get to see them practice. So as we went later in the season, we started backing our practices up later in the early evening. So it gave me a little bit of opportunity in spurts to go to a couple high school practices, not a ton because it was always scheduling stuff. But I got to see them practice late in the year. It was I think it was like a Monday night or Tuesday night, or Tuesday afternoon, and I forget the exact date. But they ran a really clean practice. I thought that it was extremely efficient. They were transitioning well from period to period in their practices. Burville's got really good coaches there, and great kids. They have gritty kids. They rolled up with literally half the roster in numbers to what NK had, and I know the score was not despair, but a little bit of a gap at the end of the game. But that game was really competitive, more competitive than people realize. I mean, there was a couple of third and mediums, third and longs where if they had converted, the game's far closer. I got to give Burville credit. I mean, they gave NK a hell. I was there. They gave NK one heck of a war. NK has good coaches as well and good players as well. I mean, those are two good teams. I mean, if you take either one of those teams lightly on a Friday night, man, you're making a real bad decision. So, I mean, Burville has gritty kids, and they always have those kids. I mean, we have Burville kids here. They're tough. Burville will always be competitive as long as those coaches are there. They just have a culture. They've built a culture of accountability and toughness it's rare in this day and age of football. I mean, you got to be accountable,
Absolutely. You definitely have to be accountable. So what message would you have for incoming students that are looking to go to college? What should they be doing if, say, a senior right now is saying, you know what, I want to go to college, what should they be doing?
Well, first of all, I don't think parents understand how college football and the landscape of NCAA football is changing. I mean, Division I, there's the levels of football: FBS Division I, FCS Division I, Division II, and Division III in NCAA football. FBS passed a rule this year for next season where they only have 105 players on the roster, and they're all on scholarships. There's no more FBS walk-ons. FCS, they've held off for right now. They're going to vote on it for the fall 26. Now, the fall 25 FCS will allow some PWOs or walk-ons, but that rule could change in parallel FBS. If that happens, this will be the last, potentially it could be the last year of having walk-ons in FCS. If that happens, it'll be wild. So, I mean, it's really hard. I mean, if you're a senior, you don't have a Division I scholarship offer right now, the chance of getting one is slim to zero. So, because the timeline, people can say, you're crushing a kid's dream. No, this is reality. Like, it's calculated risk, it's calculated reward. I would never. I mean, all the college coaches, we all talk. So I'm talking to D1. I mean, just during this podcast, I've had two D1 friends of mine call me. I had to not answer their call, but they called me. They're probably watching, actually. But to talk about recruits, talk about kids that are going to move off from that are not offering, and to push them our way because we know we're a good program. And even coaches that aren't going to take a kid to D1 level because they just don't either have the frame or they don't have room in that position room or whatnot, they're going to want a good player to go to a good place, regardless of level. I mean, again, we had a player get signed in major Arena 1, with the Liberty team. That player is a running back. Arena usually carries 2 to 3 running backs max in their roster. You got to think about it. You got UFL, which has 8 teams. You have NFL, which has 32. You have Canadian League, which I don't know off the top of my head how many is in the Canadian League, but not many. And then you have the real Arena 1. There's only right now, I think, 8 teams. And they want to expand it, but that's not a lot of running backs. So that running back that got signed by the Liberty, Luis Gonzalez, that's an elite kid. There's kids at FCS Division I, they don't get signed by professional leagues that are major like that. And that kid got signed there. Now, he had to do a lot of work post-graduation to be ready for that. Ungodly work. I mean, if I showed you what his day-to-day was, you would have been like, I'm not doing that. So a lot of kids wouldn't. So, again, there's a lot of opportunity at our level. But, again, you got to do the work. So it's not going to happen automatically. But I would tell kids, don't ignore level. That mentality is really not smart. I mean, there are Division I caliber football players playing in Division II and Division III, and not like a lot. I mean, our running back room this year, I believe my 4 best running backs can play at Division I. The reason I can say that is because some of them did. So, Kevin Brown played at UMass Amherst in games, started at Rhodey, was a CA Rookie of the Year in the spring 21 season, and he's here now. He had a great year. He's part of what we call our 3-headed monster, though we really have like 5. Our 5 top running backs can start from anyone. And they're really good. They're, again, all 5 of those guys are outstanding. 2 of them are graduating. Marvin's Gene and Jalen Aponte are graduating, and those guys are absolute dudes. Kevin Brown, Mekhi Wilson, and Pauline DeBarros are absolute dudes. They'll be back next year. We're going to have to replace those 2 that are graduating. Now, the other 3 that are coming back are all elite. We actually, because the tournament yesterday requires you only have 58 guys on the roster, which we have way more than 58 guys on our roster. We play more than 58 guys on the roster. We actually had to leave one of my top 5 home off the roster yesterday. Now, if we had won yesterday, we probably would have traveled him the next game because of just how it plays out week to week in that tournament for the national title. So, again, my running back room, there's a standard. And, you showed on the board there, that's Kevin Brown, number 13. Great player, elite player, awesome kid. I say kid, though, because I'm old. But, again, all 5 of the running backs in the running back room are very, very, the top of the room are very, very talented.
Dude, you were so tiny in that picture where you surrounded by all your running backs, about a week ago. You look so
Yeah, I'm not very tall anyways, but yeah, they're big guys, and very athletic guys, not just big. Kevin Brown is roughly about 6'1". His weight's right around 228. Marvin's Gene is 6'1", 225. Jalen's right around 205, 200 at 5'11", 5'10". Napoleon's about 200-ish, 5'9", 5'8", 5'9". But he's very muscular. Mekhi Wilson's a big guy. He's right around 230, 235-ish, about 6 feet. They're all fast. I mean, they're all athletic. All 5 of those guys are dudes. And there's some young pups in our running back room that are going to be really good that I've mentioned that have a lot of talent. So, they just have to continue to work and continue to grind and continue to push the needle and understand it's a marathon, not a sprint, in the sense that you have to be consistent every day in your production.
Coach Najee Barrow said the best in the game. I'm sure he was talking about me, but shout out to Najee, man. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I talked to Najee like when we were coming back from the game, like the whole ride home. It was it's a hike out to Springfield, so you're heading towards the New York border, pretty much in Western Mass, but. We know we gotta get after it. If we want to continue to garner rings, so to speak, and championships, we have to continue to work even harder. It's funny, you work hard to get to this point, but then sometimes to raise the bar even further, you have to work even harder. So and our staff is willing to do that. So we're gonna grind, and people might hate on us for doing what we do, but it is what it is. I mean, it's never gonna stop.
If they're not hating, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of staffs that work hard too, though. I mean, we have a lot of respect for the guys that work hard, and we don't really respect the guys that just kind of go through the motions and expect it to happen. So going through the motions is never good, but we take it seriously.
I tried to send Najee a link, but it wouldn't. I don't know. It's not letting me for some reason, but yeah, I mean, I think you guys did very good, and you're only continuing to get better, so 3-time conference champions, that's not easy. You average about 51 points per game. You scored about 500 points, I think, for the season, 539 or something like that. So impressive season, man. Impressive season, and you just build from here.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to keep doing what we do. I ask all high school coaches to reach out to me, send me transcripts, send me film, and keep doing what we do. We're going to ramp it up, though. I mean, we're going to get after it going forward. I mean, we have a title, multiple titles to defend. We plan to defend it. And we want good people that want to be part of a machine. It's not about any one kid or any one position grouping. It's about the collective whole. And if people want to be part of that and willing to do the work, then we want them. If they don't, then we tell them don't come here because it's not about one kid. We never sit down and go, oh, we're going to give one kid all these touches, no one else. It's not how we operate, because when that one kid goes down, then you're kind of your engine's gone. We run with multiple generators, so to speak, multiple engines, and simultaneously, and we mix and match body types, and we're gonna push the tempo. So offense and defense, and we're never gonna use the same 11 guys, and it's not how we operate. Every single person is valuable.
And I noticed, you're definitely a team. Even if freshmen are doing what they're supposed to do, you will get them involved in the game. And a lot of coaches say, I don't play freshmen under any circumstances, and UMass seems to be a school that goes the opposite way.
I think it's the old Bill Belichick mantra of, we're going to put them in a situation to be successful. If it's something they do well, we're not going to put them out there if they're not ready to do that situation yet, period. So it's more like looking at what they do well, utilizing that skill to some percentage early on, and then making them understand that they not only do that, they continue to develop that skill, but also focus on the things they have to work on, be coachable, be accountable. And then, again, not every guy's ready to play right away, and that's okay. It doesn't mean they're not going to be good. It doesn't mean they're not going to be elite. We don't put kids on our roster that can't help us. Now, they may not help us day one, but, as far as like in actual varsity games, it doesn't mean they don't have value. I mean, we don't traditionally recruit quote unquote program players. I mean, we bring some in, but not many. We're bringing in kids that we feel we can develop to become elite NCAA championship caliber players. And that skill set might evolve over time, and their volume of the buffet, so to speak, might get bigger over time. And that's okay. That's part of what should happen. If you're playing at all as a freshman on an elite team that's winning championships, you're a very good football player. But also, your bar is higher than you think it is, and you got to really push the needle, so to speak, to reach that potential. So, and that's all being coachable, being malleable, and understanding it's not about you, it's being unselfish. So, it's never going to be about one player. I mean, as talented as Angel Sanchez is, for example, we spread the ball around. I think yesterday we threw the ball, I don't know, like to 7-8 different guys, and that's just how we're going to operate. It's about, we don't play the same 3 or 4 wide receivers. We play like 8, 10. I think we traveled yesterday at 12 wide receivers. I mean, and all of them saw time some percentage. I mean, same thing with the running backs. I mean, we will go all 4 running backs in different times in the game. I mean, we're going to play our guys. I mean, Napoleon DeBarros averaged, I have to go look at the exact number at the end of the year, close to 7 yards a carry, and he had multiple touchdowns, and he was the quote-unquote 5th best back on paper. But, he has value, elite value. So, again, it's not about one guy. When you only go with one guy, if that guy gets hurt, your season ends. You're done. It's over. So we're never going to operate that way, because we used to operate kind of that way many moons ago, and that's just a very simplistic way to operate. The NFL doesn't go with one running back anymore. They never do. I mean, it's about the machine, and the machine is the team, and this is why it's a team sport. It's why it's great, and that's why we like how we operate, because it's truly about the team. I remember when the New England Patriots won their first Super Bowl in 2001. They got announced as a team because about the team, and that's why they won. We have a similar type of mentality, in the sense that, like, it's about the team, period.
Napoleon DeBarros, shout out to him. Earlier in the season, I noticed he was like in the top 5 of the all conference for running yards, I believe. But shout out to Napoleon. Nelson Martinez said, great job inviting all the talented high school players to your home game. I recognize a group of amazing Rhode Island talents that day. I remember when I found out he was coming from Seekonk, I was amazed. I was like, yeah, I remember, some of the stats, watching some of the film on Max Preps about him. So hopefully he'll get his shot. Gregory Blythe up there in Portsmouth said, what's a good email for you? We have a deep junior class you will want to check out.
It's ryan.mccormack@umassd.edu.
And if you need that, Greg, I could probably, if you don't, I could probably send it to you. But yeah, definitely, if you have kids and, if you have kids that if parents have kids that they think are qualified, they could always contact you through the school or through social media. Kids should get their film up on Twitter and definitely clean their social media account, huh?
Yeah, I mean, social media is your digital billboard to the world. I mean, what you put out there is perception is reality. So don't put bad things out there. And Greg is over at Portsmouth. Portsmouth, I saw them play multiple times this year. They're a very good team. I saw them beat Westerly at Westerly. They're again, they have a bunch of good players. His son's one of them. He's got two sons on the team. He has another son that would graduate last year. And they've improved a lot too at Portsmouth. I think it's because another good community that has a lot of involvement from the parents, both coaching and supporting. So, I think positive support and positive juju is always good, so to speak. Positive energy and positive it's about the machine. So if the whole town is supportive and the whole town is really helping, okay, what do you need? That type of mentality is huge. I mean, Burville has it, Portsmouth has it, Wesley has it, NK seems to have it, obviously. Pano has started to build that culture. I mean, there's a reason teams have success. It's talent, it's coaching, it's support, it's infrastructure. It's a lot. It's not one variable. It's a lot of variables. So, Greg can always reach out to me on social media too. I've known Greg, God, for forever.
Absolutely.
Greg's funny.
He got you on his feed dial. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, again, we want the best renowned, talented kids. That we stole this bit. I borrowed this business model from Tim Cohen, our coach at Salve. It clearly works. So, and we don't just recruit Rhode Island. I mean, Rhode Island's a big chunk of what we recruit. We have a lot of Connecticut kids in the roster, a lot of Mass, obviously, a little bit New York, a little bit New Jersey, a little bit PA, a little bit out of region. But our out of region kids usually have a connection back to Southern New England. But usually 75 to 80% of our roster will always come from New England, New York, New Jersey, and PA. So, we do have Jersey kids in the roster. They're very good. We have New York kids in the roster, very good. We always want to get more PA kids because there's parts of PA that are actually not that far. So again, we want a certain type of kid. We want a kid that's going to work. We want a kid that's going to be athletic. We want a kid that's willing to understand they need to get bigger, faster, stronger, and also always trying to get better. And kids that are coachable understand it's never going to be we're never going to sit there and go, let's give this kid the ball 1,000 times. It's not about that. The ball is going to go where it goes based on what the defense is doing, what the play, what they're doing schematically to make us do what we do. It's like chess. So, and then executing at a high level and being accountable when we're not executing. I mean, every week we grade our players and we have a systematic way of doing it. Our head coach garnered that from Division I in the NFL, from how we grade our players. And it's accountable. And it's accountable to the players. It's accountable to the coaches. If you're not coaching your position room the right way, then bad things are going to happen. And then it leads to bad things for the team and then leads to losses. So everybody filters into the success. It's not one person. So good or bad. So, if the kids are not having good ball security, then guess what? You don't lose a football game. If you don't have proper technique, you're going to lose a football game. If you don't have proper energy, you're going to lose a football game. If you don't have proper mentally tough isn't just being physically tough. Mentally tough is understanding that what your role is, doing your role. It's not about you. So it's there's a lot of good clips you can see online about coaches teaching mental toughness. If a kid's talking trash to another player in your team, be mentally tough enough not to respond, because that doesn't matter. What matters is the next play. What matters is doing your job. And so we're always listen, it's about the team, and we preach something that PJ Fleck from Minnesota teaches his players. It's called Balls the Program. On offense is ball security, and defense is takeaways, because the football is the program. Without the football on offense, you're not playing offense. Without taking the ball away on defense, you're not playing defense. So again, we preach those little things to our players, and that's why we're successful.
About financial aid and benefits that's available to people. Someone that's lives below the poverty income level, should they say we can't afford it to go to college? Should they not even try to fill out the paperwork, or are there programs for?
They should fill out the FAFSA every year, regardless if they think they're going to get an athletic scholarship Division One or not. They should fill out the paperwork. They should use the resources out there. Our school gives out great financial aid packages. We're usually one of the cheaper schools out there at the end in the process. We have a new program here at UMass Darthmouth where if you're a Mass resident, for example, if you make $75,000 a year or less in AGI, you get free tuition fees. It's all over the UMassD.edu website. So I mean, our packages are very aggressive. I mean, we definitely package very well and very aggressively. I mean, you don't have the players we have unless if it was so expensive people can afford it type stuff. So obviously, financially, our school does a great job with financial aid and scholarships for the players. That's usually not a major thing of contention with us. We're always going to be right in the wheelhouse of financially for the best players. I tell kids come visit the school. Connect with me. I caution kids. They'll do these weird things where they'll like email one email to like 40 different schools all in the same email. Don't do that. It's very impersonal. It's very like lazy in a way. It doesn't show care for like. I mean, you're gonna mark yourself to a million schools, obviously, but like you should have your top 8 to 10 that you're definitely the top of your wheelhouse, and then top 4 of those 8 to 10. And then over the process, you might realize the top 4 are all 4 of those aren't your top 4. Maybe one of them is at 86th or taken out of the equation that you want to go to because you realize that they're not the school you thought they were. But if coaches are reaching out to you, don't do what I call ghosting coaches. You got to understand, like, we all talk. So when a kid starts ghosting coaches, it just shows bad character and bad respect for coaches. And so it's a very selfish and arrogant and ignorant mentality. And that's not what you want to put out there. It's just not good. It's not good. You don't want 86 coaches. And I tell kids, listen, let the process play out. Visit the schools, respect the coaches. And at the end, you're going to end up where you end up if you do the right stuff. And, understand that portal's getting bigger. It's getting more aggressive. And unfortunately, a 21-year-old player, is more developed than a kid that's 18 coming out of high school because he's experienced the process of college football for multiple years. That's just how it is.
Absolutely, man. If anything I left out, you want to add in, I'm sure you got to get to tagging film and doing all your work that you do.
Yeah.
So
tell everybody, win the rep.
That's right, win the rep, man. Well, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate everything, man. I tried to get Najee up here, but I don't know. I'll work that out.
Technical difficulties. It's all right.
Absolutely, man. But shout out to you. Shout out, 3-time conference champions, man. Tough game you had to finish the season, but it's time to regroup, right? Get ready for 2025 and do it over again.
Yes, sir.
Talk to you soon, Mikey. Coach McCormack, thank you. Ryan's always awesome, always willing to I just don't bother him during the season. He goes nonstop, going all day. Maybe now that Ryan dropped off, maybe I could get Najee on. I don't know. I'll try it after. But shout out to everybody, man. Thank you. Appreciate everything. Shout out to everybody over there at UMass Darthmouth. Let me see what else was there. One second.
Tipped around and Johnston, Johnny on the spot.
Runs to Marvin's Gene. Marvin's Gene has a hole in the lane. Gene to the house. He's in for another Corsair touchdown.
This elbow try what right side. Wade drifts it off the back foot of States. Could put it over. Kate Wade wins the match for UMass Dartmouth and makes history for the Corsairs.
Give and go. Got it to Rogers. Long shot and scores.
Marcio lobs it down low. Floater possession. Throws it down with the right-handed flush. From the stretch, the 1-1 pitch. That was laced. Miles, a tough ball. It's booted, and the UMass Dartmouth Corsairs are the champions of 2024.